Now, the #1 primetime news hour in Los Angeles, Channel 5 News at 10. Larry McCormick, Minerva Perez, Ed Arnold with sports, and the entire award-winning Channel 5 news team.
Good evening. Well, unless you've been hiding under a rock somewhere for the last few hours, you have surely heard the news by now. Hey, you may have even heard the cheer from Dodger Stadium wherever you live. The Dodgers pulled out a dramatic, electrifying ninth-inning win over the Athletics in Game 1 of the World Series, and our Stu Nahan was there.
They said it couldn't happen. Oakland had too much power. The Dodger pitching couldn't stop Oakland. Two-run homer by Hatcher in the first. Grand slam home run by Canseco in the second. Dodgers got one back later on. Bob out. 3-2 pitch. Runner on first base. Kirk Gibson. Bad knee and all. Eckersley pitching their ace reliever. It's out there somewhere in the stand. A two-run homer. The Dodgers won it 5-4 to take a 1-0 lead. We'll have highlights. We'll have interviews. The whole ball of wax coming for you on the Saturday Sports page.
Okay, thank you, Stu. Now to the more sobering news this evening. A brush fire near Mount Baldy Village is burning out of control tonight. That fire's already destroyed one home and forced the evacuation of 30 residents from cabins in the area. So far, the blaze has burned 55 acres in the Angeles National Forest. About 150 firefighters are at the scene, but strong winds have fanned the flames and crews have been unable to contain the fire. One firefighter has been injured. She was released from a hospital tonight after treatment. Forest Service officials say that blaze started behind a lodge in the Bear Creek area of Mount Baldy. And a threatening fire burned up to 15 acres of brush off the Ventura Freeway in Eagle Rock today. That fire raced along a hillside near the freeway's westbound lanes before firefighters arrived at the scene. 28 fire companies from Los Angeles and Glendale were joined by helicopters as they fought the flames. Nobody was injured in this fire near Figueroa Street, and the crews doused the blaze about an hour later. A firefighter was seriously burned near downtown Los Angeles today while battling a building fire. The fireman is hospitalized tonight with burns to his hands and legs. The site was a one-story building across the street from the convention center. A tower of smoke rising from the structure on West Pico Boulevard could be seen for miles as spectacular flames shot through the roof. The crews were able to knock that fire down in about half an hour. Fire officials say the building was vacant and was scheduled for demolition. To politics now. Democrat Michael Dukakis spent a highly visible day campaigning here in Southern California. Dukakis met with volunteers and picked up an endorsement from a local Hispanic group. Warren Wilson has the details.
Governor. Dukakis started the day with an endorsement from an Hispanic Police Officers Association, and he hit hard at the Reagan-Bush administration for failing in the war on drugs. The Massachusetts governor was counterattacking Bush, who's been trying to picture the Democratic presidential candidate as a liberal who is soft on crime.
And I don't have to tell any of you that you can't divorce the issues of crime and law enforcement from the community, can you? The two go hand in hand. What are we trying to do together? We're trying to build safe and secure communities and neighborhoods for our families and for our children and grandchildren and for generations yet to come.
Dukakis also met with his grassroots volunteers, some 300 Democrats working to turn the tide and take the momentum from the Bush campaign, which is reportedly gaining ground in the race for the White House. Dukakis was greeted on his departure from Burbank Airport by a small group of supporters and members of his California campaign staff who conceded the next 3 weeks won't be easy. Dukakis flew to his running mate's home state of Texas today, and after a campaign speech in San Antonio, he then flew home to Boston. If California polls are correct, this campaign trip to California didn't overwhelm Bush or cut into his lead. His aide said that yesterday's campaign trail found more supporters than any other single day. From Burbank, Warren Wilson, Channel 5 News at 10.
The candidate's wife, Kitty Dukakis, spent the day campaigning on her own here in California. Mrs. Dukakis talked to reporters and viewed exhibits at the Fresno County Fair today. Minerva?
Well, Larry, Vice President George Bush took his campaign to farming communities in the central part of the state. Bush and his wife Barbara got a warm welcome in towns such as Modesto and Stockton. He continued to criticize what he calls liberalism of the Democrats. Bush says he is confident about the campaign, but not overconfident. He talked to reporters during a special bus tour of the entire area.
He is not going to out-hustle me, outwork me, and I will keep trying to get my message out, and I don't intend to, quote, mess up, unquote.
Later, Vice President Bush left for Denver. There he plans to take the day off and attend a Broncos football game before heading for Chicago on Monday. Over the past 3 days, Channel 5 News has been participating in a nationwide audience survey. Viewers were asked to call a special 900 number and state their opinion as to who won the Dukakis-Bush debate. We now have those final numbers for you, and it seems that 36,659 people called in saying they believe Bush won the debate. 20,797 viewers expressed their feelings that Dukakis was the winner. Please note that this survey was not scientific, merely an unofficial way of surveying audience attitudes. In other news, in Oregon, a staff member at a Christian youth center has been charged with murder in the beating death of an 8-year-old girl. The victim, Dana Broussard, is the daughter of the center's director. We have more from Sandy, Oregon.
In a brief hearing, Willie Chambers was arraigned on a charge of murder, no bail. 3 other adults are being held as material witnesses in the death of Dana Broussard. Officials say she's the 8-year-old daughter of Eldridge Broussard. He's the man who began the Los Angeles-based group, the Ecclesia Athletic Association. 2 years ago, he came to Oregon, seeking to give children a disciplined, rural life experience away from the ghetto and gangs in Los Angeles. Broussard had once been drafted by the Portland Trail Blazers. This effort failed to gain either the size or public acceptance he sought. Broussard hasn't been seen at his leased home in a year, although it was occupied by numerous followers. Neighbors said children frequently came and went. They were friendly. Willie Chambers faces another court date next Friday, and new questions arise about a commune that Oregonians had largely forgotten about.
Officials add that 53 other children at the youth center, all from Los Angeles, may have been abused also. They have been taken into custody by authorities. And authorities are searching tonight for a convicted armed robber who escaped from the minimum security prison at Chino. The inmate, Francis Gordon Robinson, was discovered missing from his job at the prison dairy about 3 o'clock this morning. Prison officials say Robinson apparently just walked away from the dairy during the night. The 61-year-old inmate is described as a white male. He is 6'3" tall, weighs 245 pounds, has brown hair and eyes, and a tattoo on his right forearm. Prison officials say they notified area residents of the escape by setting off a warning beacon.
2 more horses have been found stabbed at a Huntington Beach stable where a series of bizarre attacks have taken place over the past year. This time, an Arabian show stallion and a registered Appaloosa, both very, very valuable, were knifed. Police thought at first that a cult may have been involved because the earlier attacks all took place during a full moon. That theory has been discounted because there wasn't a full moon Thursday when these latest stabbings occurred. Police say they haven't any good leads, but they have placed a full-time investigator on the case. Still to come on News at 10 for Saturday night, police crack a major cocaine ring operated by some of the toughest gang members here in Southern California. That story, too. Taped confessions might not be allowed in the trial of suspects accused of assassinating a rookie police officer. We'll have that story for you coming, too. And hundreds of people demonstrate on the streets of Westwood in a protest that turned violent. Minerva and I will have details right after this.
Through Colorado's Gunnison Gorge, the river whispers and roars past cliffs carved by time. A dam would threaten the life and beauty of this canyon forever. But the right to build a dam belonged to people who decided never to use that right. Now, what took nature 2 million years to make will still be seen by the eyes of our children's children. Do people sometimes care for nature by leaving it alone? People do.
Sure, this is how Jane Fonda does it.
I didn't know my body could do those things.
It's just a matter of conviction and discipline.
Chicken frisco salad and a dressing?
Thank you.
Alpine burger? No bun?
I'm glad you talked me into aerobics.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, it's all discipline.
Yeah. Hot fudge sundae, no walnuts.
Thank you. No walnuts. Discipline.
No place else is Chili's. No place else.
Another typical day in California. Some of us will take a double order a double-decker, or get 2 little ones whether we ordered them or not. And millions of us will take a few minutes to play Double Rainbow, the lottery's new scratcher. You could double your cash prize. Even take a double spin. double rainbow. Another reason life's more fun in California.
When you really need it by tomorrow, Express Tailoring at C&R.
This portion of News at 10 is brought to you by AT&T. In long-distance services, information systems, telephones, and computers, AT&T is the right choice.
Here in Los Angeles today, hundreds of people turned out for a march protesting United States policy in El Salvador. While various peace groups took part, they were involved in confrontations with Contra supporters, and that resulted in 39 arrests for trespassing. Warren Wilson has the details.
The Steps to Freedom demonstration ran into resistance the moment they began their march. A group of about 50 Contra supporters shouted slogans of their own. They tried to interrupt their foes by marching in front of the larger group's march along Wilshire Boulevard. Volunteer guides for the police-approved march maintain order. Some 1,000 protesters participated and denounced U.S. support for the El Salvadorian government.
We'd like the American public to be aware of the U.S. involvement in El Salvador. It's been about $2.5 billion that's been sent down there. Most of it's gone to support the repression, the Arenas party, the death squads. It was supposed to go for things like earthquake relief, but it really hasn't.
Posters and banners call on the Reagan administration to stop supporting what they see as government-backed death squads maintaining power in El Salvador. There were many tense moments during the march through this university community. The groups marched into the middle of Westwood, where police separated them to avoid a physical confrontation. The mass demonstration continued for about 2 hours until it reached federal grounds, where a theater group staged a mock scenario of Duarte troops attacking civilians. But the most dramatic moment occurred when a group of about 40 activists disrupted a military maneuver by members of the National Guard's 40th Artillery Division.
We don't want any confrontation between our group and theirs. We don't anticipate any. They have a right to demonstrate. They have as much right to this area as we do, and we just soon pull our people back. We can continue our training elsewhere at another time.
You are now trespassing on federal property. Please leave the same way you came in. If you fail to do so, you will be arrested.
The group rejected a recommendation by its leader and an order by the sheriff to leave voluntarily. Shortly thereafter, they were taken into custody for trespassing on federal property, thus ending one of the biggest and one of the most volatile demonstrations in recent years against U.S. policy in Central America. From West Los Angeles, Warren Wilson, Channel 5 News at 10.
In San Diego, the reputed leader of that city's most notorious street gang has been arrested along with 16 others in a massive sweep by police and federal drug agents. The 24-year-old Kevin Andre Standard was arrested during an early morning raid at his Chula Vista condominium. He is the self-proclaimed commander of what is called the Sindo Mob. Federal agents say Standard's organization is extremely well-structured with a ranking system similar to the military. The Sindo Mob is believed responsible for the distribution of up to 140 pounds of rock cocaine every month in San Diego and Los Angeles counties. And a judge in New York is attempting to determine whether videotape confessions are admissible as evidence in court. The case involves the trial of several suspects accused of assassinating a rookie police officer. Jeannie Mose explains.
In court, the suspects sat and watched their own videotaped confessions, each pointing the finger at another, saying he pulled the trigger. The target that February night, a rookie cop guarding the house of a man who dared complain about drug dealers. 22-year-old Officer Edward Byrne was assassinated as he sat in his patrol car.
I just seen the first bullet hit him because he was up close to the window with the gun like this. And I heard the first bullet and I saw when his head went down and his hair went flying like, you know, like a blow dryer. And I seen stuff, you know, blood and stuff.
3 of 4 suspects admit they participated, all deny doing the shooting.
Personally, I wouldn't have done nothing like that. That's not me.
And each described the others as being gleeful after the shooting. The parents of the slain officer were present in the courtroom and comforted each other as they watched the videotaped confessions, just as they had comforted each other at their son's funeral 7 months ago. From taps to videotapes, defense attorneys contend police coerced their clients into making confessions. The judge will decide whether the jury ever gets to see these tapes. Tapes in which one suspect says the assassination was ordered by a jailed drug lord. The murder intended as a message to police from prison. And the Burns lose a son. Jeannie Moe, CNN, New York.
After 12 days, there may soon be a breakthrough for a group of nuns who are protesting a liberal Mother Superior and the modernization of their convent. A Vatican envoy was allowed to speak to the 5 nuns after he showed them credentials proving that he is from the Vatican. The nuns discussed their position with the envoy in a move to try to resolve this dispute.
There is a possible solution that the sisters up there would be reassured, really, that their ability to live by their old rule of St. Teresa would be honored.
The nuns have locked themselves up in the infirmary of their monastery for the past 12 days. They're distressed that the Mother Teresa Hewitt brought food and sweets and modern music and television and newspapers into their monastery.
In Midland, Texas today, 2.5-year-old Jessica McClure unveiled a bronze plaque honoring the workers who rescued her from an abandoned well 1 year ago. Doesn't seem that long ago, but the little girl was joined by her parents who say they are still thanking the Lord for giving them back their baby. The plaque pictures Jessica and the faces and hands of the circle of people standing around the well when she was pulled to the surface. The sculpture was designed by Midland artist Mary Griffith. It reads, "Nothing the heart gives away is gone. It is kept in the hearts of others." Meantime, a California court has ruled that a baby abandoned in an airplane restroom will remain in the custody of her paternal grandparents. The child, 3-month-old Alyssa Locasto, apparently was born aboard a plane en route to San Francisco last July, I should say. A cleaning crew found the baby stuffed under the sink. Alyssa's mother pleaded not guilty to charges of child endangerment. She is ordered to undergo therapy. Well, thousands of slum dwellers take to the streets to protest the reassignment of their neighborhood priest. That story coming up on News at 10.
Renewed violence breaks out on the West Bank as the homes of Palestinians are demolished. We'll have that story, too. And the Olympics live on in Seoul, South Korea, as the world's largest athletic games for the disabled opens. We'll have complete details right after this.
Growing up in Seoul, my friends and I would go off to a special lake where the sun danced on the water and the fish couldn't wait to be caught. Now that I live in America, I'm meeting new people and catching new fish. But I still go back from time to time to the place where the sun danced for my friends and me.
Who says you can't go home again? Go ahead, reach out and touch someone.
Selamat datang.
Selamat datang. Selamat datang.
Selamat datang.
Selamat datang. Selamat datang.
It's our way of saying welcome in Malaysia.
Leonard, Lalonde, November 7th at Caesar's Palace. Call now for tickets.
This man's identity and voice have been disguised to protect his job and maybe his life. He is a U.S. government intelligence official.
The general knowledge that there were aliens that landed on Earth back in the early 50s, late 40s, and that we have had some type of crude communications with them since. Shouldn't be kept from the public.
What is going on? Find out on UFO Cover-Up, live.
Don't miss a special encore, Sunday at 8 on Channel 5.
8 people were killed today as new violence erupted in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. We have this report on one confrontation between Palestinians and Israeli troops.
It started as an angry, loud, but peaceful march through the winding streets of Yatta.
About 200 Palestinian youths, their faces masked by keffiyehs, marched in memory of 2 Arab men killed by Israeli troops earlier this week. They chanted anti-Israeli slogans and carried signs written in English, apparently expecting this demonstration would be covered by journalists. Before it was over, the protesters put down their flags and signs in favor of stones and slingshots. Israeli troops fired back with tear gas and rubber bullets, as they did in at least 6 other towns and refugee camps on the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Palestinian sources report several people were wounded, some of them during the demonstration here in Yatta. But an army spokesman denies this incident ever took place. Linda Scherzer, CNN, Jerusalem.
Today in Haiti, thousands of demonstrators packed the streets of Port-au-Prince for the 2nd day in a row. Many in the crowd were slum dwellers who were showing their support for a Catholic priest who has been removed from his post. The protesters gathered around the church where Father Père Aristidis had been based for more than 3 years. Father Aristidis was well known for his encouragement of the poor to fight for their rights. Haiti's church hierarchy has criticized the priest, saying members of his church were advocates of violence. In Portugal, South African President P.W. Botha met today with Portuguese leaders to talk about ending the 13-year-old war in Angola. Botha and the Portuguese Prime Minister Aníbal Cavaco Silva went into a meeting for an hour and a half. Afterward, Botha said the discussion had been useful and that he is confident his country can help resolve problems throughout Africa. Botha also said there was mention of U.S.-mediated talks between Angola, Cuba, and South Africa. Botha says such talks will be a step toward a peace settlement in his country. In Seoul, South Korea today, more than 3,000 disabled athletes took part in the opening ceremonies of the Paralympic Games. The festivities closely followed the program for last month's Olympic Games. Competitors from 60 different countries will take part in the 10-day event.
There seems to be some movement, meantime, in a proposal for summit talks on the possible reunification of the 2 Koreas. North Korea has said that the idea is certainly welcome, but the president of South Korea, who suggested it, is not. President Roh Tae-woo has said he was willing, to go anywhere to discuss reunification, even to the North Korean capital. In South Africa, Winnie Mandela today visited her husband, black activist Nelson Mandela, who is under heavy guard at a Cape Town hospital. The 70-year-old Mandela is being treated for tuberculosis at a private clinic. Mrs. Mandela says her husband is angry over suggestions that he is cooperating with officials of the apartheid government. She says, though, that his health does appear to be improving.
We have seen him. He looks very well, much better than what he was in Tigerberg Hospital. And he says he feels very strong and fit.
Mandela has been in jail since 1962 for his efforts to overthrow the white minority government. Recently, South African officials have hinted that he might be released very soon. And just ahead on News at 10, a sleek sailing ship is being constructed to represent the pride of Baltimore after the original vessel sunk in a tragic accident. We'll have details for you.
And the Soviet Union receives another taste of Americana. Mickey Mouse takes the Russians by storm. We'll tell you all about it when we come right back.
Mercedes-Benz. So precisely engineered, it is comparable to the supersonic Concorde. And so handsomely designed, it echoes the elegance of the QE2. Now, thanks to our world-class test drive sweepstakes, you just might win one of 8 world-class trips for 2 to Europe on British Airways Supersonic Concorde. Visit the Mercedes-Benz European Delivery Center in West Germany and return on the elegant QE2. The world-class test drive sweepstakes, only at a participating authorized Southern California Mercedes-Benz dealer.
Hello, I'm calling to find out if the carpet that I just bought from you has this stain protection that's locked in the fiber, you know, before the fiber becomes a carpet. What do you mean it's not locked in that way unless it's a wear-dated carpet? But a wear-dated carpet isn't what you sold me. Well, what's mine then? Sprayed on? Oh, he sprayed on the carpet? Excuse me.
Honey, take it easy.
Get a grip.
Wear-dated carpet. Stain protection locked in before the carpet's a carpet.
Mexico.
Come to where the sun warms your spirit and the people warm your heart. Come, feel the warmth of Mexico.
K-Light 100 FM, the Southland's only light music station. Listen to K-Light, K-Light 100 FM.
America's Mickey Mouse today arrived in Moscow for the opening of a Walt Disney Film Festival. The internationally known Mickey got a red carpet welcome, usually reserved for high-ranking human beings. Mickey was greeted by Misha, the Russian bear who served as mascot for the 1980 Olympics. About 100 spectators were also on hand for the event, which marks Mickey's first ever visit to a communist bloc country. The two-week Disney festival, featuring classics such as Bambi and Fantasia, gets underway tomorrow. And a rather unusual story here. In Orlando Hills, Illinois, a series of unexplainable instances and occurrences have forced authorities to tear down an abandoned house today. It seems the house had a tendency to mysteriously and spontaneously erupt into flames, with bursts of fire shooting out electrical sockets and smoky mists filling the air. Fire officials recorded at least 25 separate incidents of strange occurrences at that location. Officials have subjected the house to virtually every possible kind of test to try to determine the cause of the phenomena. And although they say there must be some kind of logical explanation, the house was destroyed before one could be found. Bizarre story, as I said. And look for the movie very, very soon, I imagine.
Sounds like a great Hollywood
I'd
script.
like to know a whole lot more about that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, really.
You've just returned from your first trip ever to paradise.
5 days in paradise.
In Hawaii. How did you like it?
Oh, it was lovely.
Is
The
it?
weather was great.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you.
Yeah, it makes you just want to sit around and
Oh, it was wonderful. That's what I
nature.
did. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Sat around the beach.
Well,
and
welcome
just
back.
had fun.
We missed you. Welcome
Thank
back
you
to
very
the smog
much.
and all of that good
Really,
stuff.
the clear skies were something else. And the weather was great.
Yeah.
And the weekend weather has been great here, and there are no changes foreseen for tomorrow. A high-pressure system continues to build just off to the east of us, and that's producing dry and very, very warm Santa Anas for the Southland. Those Santa Ana winds should begin decreasing by tomorrow night, but the unseasonably warm temperatures are expected to be with us through Monday at least. For the rest of the nation today, it was an Indian summer for much of the eastern half. This after the first freeze of the fall season dominated most of that area this week. For tomorrow, showers are predicted for the Mississippi Valley all the way to the Great Lakes region. Rain is also expected for the extreme southern part of Florida tomorrow. And the rest of the country should be real nice. It's also nice here at home tonight at the LA Civic Center. The temperature right now is 69 degrees. The humidity is 63%. The barometer is steady right now, and the winds are out of the east at 3 miles per hour. Well, it was quite warm in the LA basin this afternoon, but the high got only to 78 degrees. Last night's low was a cool 57, and here's what it's going to look like tomorrow. For the valley areas, sunny and warm, downright hot in some places. The temperatures will range between 90 and 100. The coastal areas will also enjoy this warm weather. Look for clear skies and breezy conditions near the beach, highs between 70 and 75. In the higher elevations, clear skies, windy conditions is the forecast for tomorrow. The highs will be pleasant between 70 and 77 degrees. And in the deserts, continued hot and clear, but breezy. Highs will be somewhere between 86 and 95. And here are some temperatures that might interest you. Certainly nothing to worry about. Riverside should be about as hot as the desert city of Palm Springs, and the resorts will be very pleasant. And looking into the days ahead, here's a forecast. No changes real soon. And tonight's slide is a shot of a boat race in Newport Harbor. But it's not just any boat race, as the photographer G.S. Crano told us. These boats are electric powered. I guess that's what they do over there in Newport Beach. Yeah. Our thanks to Mr. Crano for sending that in to us. And we'd like to show off some of your slides, too. Mail them to KTLA, P.O. Box 500. Los Angeles 90078. And the weather will cooperate for even more sports events scheduled here in Los Angeles tomorrow, so enjoy it. And by the way, I was at the Washington USC game today. That was an exciting game, it was warm sitting out there.
USC just barely won.
Just barely. And they're ranked number 3. I couldn't believe that.
But Washington gave UCLA. Washington's a good team.
No kidding.
Miami lost. We'll talk to Eddie later on, but
I was rooting for Washington, by
UCLA.
the way.
Were you really? Oh, you
some people
don't
aren't going
start
to
your
like
car.
that. I
Yeah,
have
when
some
you
friends here. Yeah, who are from
UCLA and
Seattle.
USC could easily be number 1, 2 in the country when the polls come out because Miami got
We'll
beat
see what
today.
happens. Yeah, barely.
Yes, just barely. Close games, but that game at Dodger Stadium.
That was the incredible.
Oh. Well, in Maryland, crews are putting the finishing touches on the new Pride of Baltimore. That sailing ship is the replacement for another vessel whose last voyage ended in tragedy. We have more in this report.
It's a weekend, but for Mary Kirby, no time to take off work. She's one of a half-dozen crew members putting the final touches on one of this city's most prized possessions, the Pride of Baltimore 2. Kirby sailed the first Pride, though not on its fatal journey 2 years ago, when it sank in a storm near Puerto Rico, killing 4 crew members. She feels some sense of nostalgia right now, but mostly a sense of challenge.
Outfitting a new boat, finding out its new problems with the first crew, so there's going to be a lot of surprises.
Surprises that other workmen are still trying hard to minimize. An electrician sees to the wiring. A bosun takes inventory. And in a nearby shipyard, a deckhand polishes a galley table. It's taken 2 years and $3 million raised from the public and private sectors to build this 150-foot-long, 185-ton masterpiece. And getting the wood, especially, hasn't been easy.
You have to use a certain length in a ship like this. Otherwise, it's just not built right. And that gets to be real difficult. You got to go scrounging around. There's a couple of pieces in the deck that are like 40 feet long.
The Pride of Baltimore 2 is scheduled to set sail 1 week from tomorrow. It'll head for Bermuda on the first leg of a revitalized public relations campaign aimed at carrying the goodwill of a proud city and state to the world. Mary Miller, CNN, Baltimore.
Still to come now on News at 10, one of the country's most influential Hispanic leaders finds himself in the middle of a very touchy situation. We'll tell you about that. Question, is there a new multimillionaire in California? Lottery numbers for you coming up next. And also, in Chicago, the fur is flying over the introduction of bullfighting. That's right, animal activists, as you can imagine, are up in arms. Details when we come back in just a moment.
If you consider the importance of energy in the universe, you'll realize we're a pretty smart crew here on Earth. Those who switch to the new generation of gas appliances. They're dependable, efficient, and they do not cost you a fortune to run. You've got to be from another planet not to use gas. I always knew there was intelligent life out there.
My new refrigerator broke down, so I called the store. They were very understanding. They said, call the manufacturer. So I called the manufacturer. They said, no problem, we'll send a repairman in 3 weeks. I should have gone to Circuit City.
Service is never a problem at Circuit City. We provide service on everything we sell. Don't find out after it's too late that you should have gone to Circuit City. Circuit City, the intelligent choice.
What you're looking at is one of the most luxurious, dependable sedans around, right? Not right. Because this luxurious, dependable Volvo sedan is really a wagon, a Volvo wagon. Always ready to put in a good day's work, with enough room to give every kid his very own space, but just as comfortable when it has to be on its best behavior. The Volvo 760. It's a wagon until you need a sedan. The best time to see your Volvo dealer is now.
They're legendary outlaws.
We rob banks.
Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty are Bonnie and Clyde. Monday at 8 here on Channel 5.
Well, the Tyson Givens saga continues, and actress Robin Givens won't say whether there will be any reconciliation with her husband, boxer Mike Tyson. Givens says she is Tyson's greatest fan and talked about her short marriage.
A lot has happened to me in the last 8 months. I got married, I got pregnant, I lost a baby. I'm losing someone very close to me now. Mike? Yes, and I'm a fighter. I mean, that's my nature. Thank you. That's my instinct to fight. But I can't fight by myself, and that's what I feel like I've been doing.
Tyson filed for an annulment, saying Givens tricked him into marriage to get his money. Tyson also says that Givens and her mother are prejudiced against black people, even though they themselves are black. Tyson also says he felt like he was living with the Ku Klux Klan while married to her. Well, San Antonio Mayor Henry Cisneros has admitted his marital problems and a very close relationship with another woman. Much of the mayor's private life came out amid reports of an affair between Cisneros and his colleague Linda Medlar. But the mayor says he has no plans for divorce, and he refuses to describe his relationship with Medlar.
I'm saying that that's nobody's business. I'm saying that I'm a human being in addition to being mayor. And I'm saying that I'm not perfect.
Have you talked to Mrs. Midler today?
I inquired as to how she felt and made sure that she was okay in terms of the impact of a story like this.
The 41-year-old Cisneros announced last month that he will not seek another term next year. It would be his 5th term as mayor of San Antonio, and it was then that he also announced that he would not seek higher office. Well, Minnesota health officials say they have received hundreds of calls from Northwest Airlines passengers who have gotten sick, possibly from contaminated food served on several Northwest flights between September 25th and October 4th. The victims complained of severe diarrhea, gripping abdominal pain, and other symptoms that can last 5 to 7 days. A bacterial illness called shigellosis has been confirmed in 5 of the cases so far. Those illnesses have been traced to food prepared in Marriott Corporation's airline kitchen at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. An airline spokesman said cold food and lettuce seem to be the culprits. Larry?
Okay, Minerva, time for the big moment now. Get ready for tonight's winning lotto numbers. Could be a very big moment for you. Let's take a look at the big spin first. There were no big winners in today's big spin. The largest prize awarded today was $100,000, which is big if that's more than you had before. That was won by a resident of Simi Valley. And now the winning lotto numbers, if you are ready, and they are 21, 30, 40, 9, 28, 1, and the bonus number is 14. The jackpot is $5.5 million, and I hope you had all, or at least enough of the numbers to win some bucks there. Chicago, the city of the big shoulders, or the Windy City, or Chi-Town, has long been known for its wind, I guess, special brand of politics, and its sports teams too, all those things. Its museums too, for that matter. But now, amid controversy, something new has been added.
Ernest Hemingway might have called this Velcro in the afternoon. Bullfights where the bulls have Velcro patches on their backs, the matadors have Velcro on their swords, and the tips of the bulls' horns have been cut.
We do it with love, with kindness. A bullfight is an art.
Not according to the city of Chicago, which wanted to ban the so-called bloodless bullfights.
It's animal exploitation. I mean, okay, he's not drawing blood, but I doubt very much if the bull had a choice, he'd want to be there.
The city took the case to court last month after more than 1,000 people attended the first in a series of bullfights. But a Cook County judge ruled against the city, arguing that this tamer sort of bullfighting is no crueler to animals than rodeo events such as calf roping or steer wrestling. In fact, matadors say bloodless bullfighting is tougher on them because they cannot weaken the bulls by wounding. Organizers, who say they're hoping several thousand people will attend the next fight, say bullfighting is part of Hispanic culture that city kids should learn to appreciate.
It's been a heritage for years.
It promotes the spirit of the Spanish people.
Arguments that are, in the words of Chicago's top animal care official, unadulterated bull. Jonathan Towers, CNN, Chicago.
It was an electrifying moment among many electrifying moments today. Saturday sports, and Ed Arnold's got it all.
It's one of the most incredible endings to a game I can recall.
I can still picture it in my mind, seeing it go.
I'm still hoarse from it.
Yes.
I mean, I know it through my voice. What we're talking about, folks, is the ending to Game 1 of the Fall
They don't know
Classic.
by now they're dead.
No, they don't. That man, Kirk, again. College football found the top-ranked team getting knocked off while the local powers won, though it was so close for the men of Troy. The Saturday Sports page has quite a rundown on today's action, as well as the forum battle between the only 2 NHL unbeaten teams. One's now been beaten, but page 1, all World Series, as the Dodgers won the opener thanks to the heroics off the bench of Kirk Gibson. Highlights and interviews follow.